All right, so this is a new topic. We've been talking about area. Now we're going to talk about something called surface area. And I know in the past you've talked about volume. So here I have a birthday present. I know, presents are nice. So, couple of things. The present inside the box, that's volume, right? Because it's inside. What we are going to focus on is the wrapping paper. All right? The wrapping paper that wraps the present, because that is covering the box, an area covers, right? But so surface area is going to be when we cover a 3D figure. Regular area that we've been talking about is covering a 2D figure, right? So we can take and we can cover a 3-dimensional figure, and that is what we call surface area. So here I have my washing machine, right? The space inside where we put the clothes, that's volume. But I know they're cool, right? But this right here, the metal that makes the machine, that is surface area. Now, we can take surface area and we can look at it in this 3D format, and we will do that actually some more on Thursday. For us today, we're going to look at something called a net. And that is when we take a 3D figure and we make it 2-dimensional. Okay? So if this is the metal that makes up my washing machine, right? I can take my 3D shape and I can unfold it. And I could find the area of all of these pieces, like composite area, and we can add up how much metal the outside of the machine has. Do you see that? Okay. We do have 2 different types of surface area. We're going to get to cylinders a little bit later, but the cylinder is the easiest one to show you the 2 types. So here I have a can of tomato soup, which last week, we were off Thursday, Friday. It was super cold. I don't know about you. Soup was nice, right? Kept me nice and warm. So the soup inside the can, all right, that is volume, okay? The can that is made of aluminum, right? That is surface area, okay? So the whole can is made of aluminum. That is actually what we call total surface area. But if I am only talking about the label, does the label cover all of the can? No. The label, this is called lateral surface area. And so those are the 2 types of surface areas we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about total surface area and just this middle lateral part. Okay? There is not a vertical surface area. So I need you to have a highlighter because we are going to talk about something called the bases. And we're going to use our highlighter for that. So the first thing that we are going to talk about is a triangular prism. Here I have a triangular prism. It happens to be a piece of cake, right? That goes with our birthday present, right? So when we look at this, and I've got it taped right now. This is what it looks 3-dimensional. I want you to pay attention to something. I have a triangle on the top and I have a triangle on the bottom. That is why this is called a triangular prism. These 2 pieces, right, the triangles, notice they are parallel, right? They're never going to touch. So a triangular prism has 2 congruent, right? They are equal. and parallel triangle bases. That's where we get the triangular part of the name. It has, look at the sides. What shape is this side? This side, this side. These are rectangular, and how many are there? It has 3 rectangular lateral faces. Remember, lateral is going to be the label. It's going to be that middle piece, okay? So what we are going to talk about today is identifying the difference between the lateral faces and the bases. And when we talk about this, we're going to use, you're going to see little later on this week, we're going to use the big B. Remember how when we talked about area, I said make sure you're using a little b? All right, we are going to talk about something called the big B. So what I want us to first do is we're going to take our highlighter and we are going to shade. You can use your colored pencil or whatever. We are going to shade those triangular bases. Okay, and they give us 2 different versions that we can look at. Those are very, very important. You have to have 2 parallel bases for it to be a prism. Okay, the other thing I want you to do is I also want you to shade them on, remember we call these a net. We are shading those parallel sides. All right, let me give you a minute to do that. So if these are our bases, then these middle rectangular pieces right here, this is our lateral. All right, so these are our bases. This is our big B, big B, big B. We've colored them. And then if it's asking just for lateral, then it's only talking about these middle pieces. It does not include the bases. All right. So then let's look at a rectangular prism. What do you think? Did I show you a rectangular prism earlier? Yes, the washing machine, right? And so the washing machine, here's the top, here's the bottom. It has 2 still congruent. This doesn't work if the bases don't match. Congruent, parallel, rectangular bases. How many lateral faces does this have? 4, because how many sides are on a rectangle? 4. So just like on the triangle, we have 3 sides on a triangle. So we have 3 lateral pieces. Okay? So what again I want you to do, we're going to highlight those bases. And generally it's the top and the bottom. Notice here, it was top and bottom. Here it doesn't actually, for our purposes, on a rectangular prism, as long as it's 2 parallel sides, you could highlight these 2 if you wanted. But on the net, it's going to be the ones that are sticking out on the side that they're not all in a row. Okay? And then we can say, so this part is our lateral. So here's big B. We're going to talk about what big B is. For our purposes, here's your lateral. Here's your lateral. It's kind of hard for me to label it on the 3D. These are lateral. Okay, so you need to make sure you know the difference between total and lateral. Total is going to be the whole thing. Lateral is just going to be this middle piece. We are going to do some pyramids. A triangular pyramid is going to be a pyramid. Here's a triangular pyramid, right? Notice it has a point. How many bases does it have? It just has 1. It has 1. What shape is it? Triangular base. It's a no slipping wet floor sign. All right. How many has 3? Notice now, look at the difference here. What shape are the faces? They're triangular. So that is the difference between a prism and a pyramid. A prism has rectangular faces, and a pyramid has triangular faces. So we are only going to highlight, we only have 1 base. And on the net, it happens to be in the middle. Okay? So our laterals are going to kind of be like our star pieces out to the side. Right? Here's our lateral. Here's our lateral. Okay, so make sure, one, you know the difference between a pyramid and a prism. And then two, lateral and total. All right, so now I have the Sphinx. And it is, in fact, a pyramid. It's like the most famous pyramid ever, right? Yeah. Or the Pyramid of Giza. Look at the base. This is the bottom, right? What shape is this? It is a square. It has one square or rectangular, right? A rectangle is a square. A square is not a rectangle or something like that. The other way around. How many lateral faces does it have? 1, 2, 3, 4. Because how many sides are on a rectangle or a square? 4. Okay. How do we feel about, so here's our base, here's our base, here's our base, here's our base. Do we feel pretty good about the difference between the base, the big B, and the lateral? Okay, that's huge. Because if you don't know that, it's going to make life very, very tricky. Okay? So we're going to do a little bit of practice and actually calculating some of these now. Okay, but we needed to take some time to learn the vocabulary and make sure we can identify the different pieces. All right, so now I want to practice with you on actually doing some calculations. So the first thing that I do want you to do is I want you to look at this shape. I want you to identify the base. Remember, the base is going to be the two parallel congruent shapes. What's the base? The two triangles. And we are going to highlight those base shapes. When we get to volume, we're still going to highlight those base shapes. So that, big B, that is going to give us the name of our shape. These are triangles. So this is a triangular. Now look at the lateral sides. These are your lateral sides. Are they rectangular or are they triangular? They're rectangular. Plus we had two bases. So is this a pyramid or a prism? This is a prism. What makes it this? We have two bases and we have rectangular sides. Number of bases, 2. Shape of the bases, triangles. All right, number of lateral faces. How many lateral faces are there? 3, because how many sides are on a triangle? 3. What are the shape of those lateral faces? Rectangles. All right. So if we are going to find the lateral surface area, then I am only looking here. Yes? So when we're looking, so essentially we're finding the area of each of these pieces and doing what? We're adding them. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to just sketch this real quick. Right? Remember when we talked about how important it is that you show me what you're doing? Right? This is 2.8, this is 2, this is 2.8, and this is 5. I don't need this 3 or this one. Can I find the area of these rectangles? How do I do that? How do you find area of a rectangle? Base times height, right? And multiply the sides. So this is going to be 2.8 times 5. This is going to be 2 times 5. This is going to be 2.8 times 5 again. Right? Because if this is 5, then this is 5, this is 5, and this is 5, right? It doesn't change the height. Is there anyone who doesn't understand where those numbers came from? You can use your calculator. I know this one is 10. 2.8 times 5 is 14. 14. So I've found the area of all the pieces. What's the last thing I need to do? Yeah. We're going to add them all up. So we're going to say 14 plus 10 plus 14 is 38. This happens to be yards squared. And that is your lateral surface area. That is, so if I was looking at my cake, here's my cake, right? Then I am looking at just this part where the cake is. Okay? Assuming we have frosting on the top and the bottom. Because there's always room for frosting. All right? Total surface area means that I need the area of the lateral plus the two bases. We already have the lateral, so that's the nice thing about this. We already did the lateral, so we can just write 38 for our lateral. Here is my base. I know that this is 3. What's this part of my triangle? 2, because it's right here, right? So my triangle is base times height divided by 2. So I can say 2 times 3 divided by 2, which is in fact just 3. But how many of these do I have? I have 2 of them. So I can come over here and I can say the area here is 3, but the area here is also 3. Because I have 2 bases. So I can say plus 2 times 3, and I get 38 plus 6, which is 44 yards squared. Should your total surface area always be more than your lateral? Yes, because it's more parts. Okay? Does anyone have a question about that? We feel pretty good about that. Do you see how it's really just composite area? Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do, we're going to fill out on shape number 2, this bottom piece. And then I am going to ask you to try to find the lateral and the total surface area. So what is the name, first of all, of this solid? What do you think it is? You think it's a what? Rectangular prism. Why do we think it's a rectangular prism? Okay, it has 2 bases and rectangle sides. Right? We have 2 bases. The shape of the bases were rectangles. That's why it's a rectangular prism. I'm actually going to go ahead and highlight those. And then our lateral faces, these are our lateral, right? Big B, big B. We have 4 lateral faces, and they are also rectangular. So I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to ask you to take a minute, and I want you to find the lateral and the total surface area. Let's look right here. Look over here. If this side of the rectangle is 4, what is this side? 4. Look right here. These match up, don't they? So that means that this is 4. If you look at, all right, so if this is my same shape, right? If this is 4, when I put them together, those match. So this piece is also 4. Do you see that? All right, so use that information in case you were stuck. So here you can see my work. Here's my lateral. I found the area of each piece, and then I added them together. Remember, total is lateral plus the 2 bases. Here was my lateral from the previous. Here's my base. Right? So this is 10 times 4, which is 40 here and 40 here. We have 2 of those. Don't forget to add. You have to add 80, not just 40. All right? Are we good?